folks, Steve the Transit Camper. Thanks for clicking on my video. We're having a night in the van, on the drive unfortunately, COVID rules. Got a bit of tea, got a bit of breakfast, a bit of bacon, cooked that up. Got some fish cakes, I thought I'd try them, just dry on their own in a pan. I think that'll work, I don't know. Give it a go. And some butter, some chilli sauce. And of course we've got our friend Jack with us tonight. We'll have a little bit of Coke with that. And we've got Cat the dog, who you've seen already. And there she is. And she's got a bit of something as well. Good girl. You go up there. Okay, so the purpose of tonight's video is to talk about batteries and just try and expose some of the myths about your leisure batteries. It won't be boring. I'll try not to be boring. But like I say, we'll just talk about leisure batteries. So the reason I showed you my voltmeter when I came in, I think it was on 12.6 or 12.7, which means that the batteries are fully charged. And I wanted to start up the heater and start up the fridge and see what it drops down to. Now the cutoff point is 12 volts and we'll discuss that shortly. I forgot my glass, but I said to myself I'm not going back in the house, so I'm not going to go back in the house. So we'll use a coffee cup. Just add some Coke to that. Wonderful. Okay, so I'm not going to go on about it too much, but some people think that if you buy a 120 amp hour battery, that's going to provide 1 amp hour for 120 hours. And that's not the case. So if I've got a fridge that consumes 1 amp an hour, it's not going to last for 120 hours on a 120 amp hour battery. And let me tell you why. Because any battery, once it gets to 50%, it's practically flat. So a battery that boasts 120 amp hours is actually only going to provide you with 60 amp hours. So you have to be careful when you make these calculations, and you will go on some YouTube sites and they get a piece of paper out and a pen and they go through all the different amperage and wattage that all these different devices are using, and they tell you how long your battery should last. 9 times out of 10 in my experience, and I've got a good 5-6 years experience on this now, is the maths doesn't add up. It never works out to what it should do, but it does roughly. So we're just going to do some rough calculations tonight, and I'm just going to give you a few tips on how long you should expect your leisure battery to last. So the first thing that you definitely need to do if you're doing any campering or you're using a 12 volt battery for tenting or whatever you're doing is make sure that you get a voltmeter. So like I just showed you on mine, a good leisure battery setup should show about 12.7 volts. So that's what mine showed when I got in. I think it might have been 12.6, but I do know that both those batteries are fully charged when I came in. And what I wanted to show was the power consumption straight away when you get in the van and you switch all your different applications on. So I've got a fridge which I've switched on, which you saw, and I've got the heater which I've switched on. Now those heaters can pull out 10 amps straight away, sucking the life out of your battery and completely, you know, putting it under a tremendous load. So straight away already you're going to have lost your peak power of your batteries. I'm just looking down at my voltmeter now, and that meter's sort of that heater has gone into standby, and it says 12.3 volts. Now the golden rule is you don't drop below 12.3 volts. People think 0 volts is a flat battery. It's not. A flat battery is less than 12 volts. So anything less than 12, you're looking at only 40% of your battery life is left, and it's asking you to charge it. So key rule, get a voltmeter, put it in, use it. When the batteries dip below 12, no matter how you're charging, you need to charge at that point. So it's very, very tight. It's very tight. So we're just going to work out what I've got in my van and how long those batteries would be expected to last. And you're going to be in for a surprise, let me tell you. So we're going to do a simple math scenario. Let's say I bought two 100 amp hour batteries from a shop. I've brought them home, I've connected them up and they're all charged, and I'm now going to run my equipment. If you use 100 amp hour batteries, the maths is just simple. So I am running a Chinese heater. Its initial startup is 10 amps, so that's going to knock it anyway, but we're not going to calculate that in. They run at about 3 amps an hour. That's what they're sucking out your battery. So because we've got two 100 watts, that means we've got 100 amp hours available. So 3 of those amp hours is going to be used by our heater in the cold. Obviously in the summer, you don't have to worry about it. So that takes us straight away 100 amp hours divided by 3. That means that's going to run for 33 hours. And I don't disbelieve that, but I've watched a few YouTube channels and their calculations, they do probably about 3/4 of what they're expected. So I think that would run for 25 hours, but let's say 33. So we've also got a roof extractor, and I know that that pulls 1 amp an hour on average. 0.6 if it's running slow, up to 1.5 if I'm cooking and I have to power it all up. So we're going to call that 1 amp hour. So add that to my 3, which is my heater, and I've got 4 amp hours before I've done anything in the van. So 4 divided by the 100 would say that I could run both of them for 25 hours. So already you can see that I'm using voltage from a battery, and I haven't even done anything. You know, I'm just in the van keeping warm and running the fan, stopping my van misting up and all the condensation up the walls and on the ceiling. So then I need to add my fridge. Fridges range between 0.6 and up to 2 if you get a really over the top one. I know that one of mine on average does 1 amp an hour. Initially, to get cold, which it's not needed to do tonight because it's already cold, it would pull maybe 3 amps. But on average, on a reasonably not too hot day, that's just going to use 3 amps for 20-30 minutes, and then it's going to tick along, cutting in and out, roughly 1 amp hour an hour. So that one added to my extractor fan, added to my heater, that's 5 amp hours. I haven't done anything yet. I've just got in the van on a cold day. 5 amp hours divided by the 100 amp hours that I've got available in my batteries, which are fully charged, leaves 20 hours. So you can see how quick you're sucking that consumption out of your battery. It's tricky. And that's why I say, don't skimp on your batteries. Pay out. I skimped on my batteries. I even went with an ordinary car battery at one point, useless. But don't skimp on your batteries. I would recommend you get 2 120 amp hour batteries, and then you've got to look at how you're going to charge them. I don't want this to be a lecture by any means, but I'm going to put up a few slides now because people like visuals. So I'm just going to indicate that the slides are going to be on there. Okay. And in amongst those slides is a really interesting one about how useful your voltmeter is. So you can look at your voltmeter and you can say, right, where am I with my batteries? So if your batteries, when you're getting at 12.7 or 12.6 and above, your batteries are 100% charged and you're in. It's good. If your batteries are at 12.5, you're about 90%. I am reading this off a piece of paper. You can download these off the internet. Relevance, voltage to battery. If it's at 12.42, you're at 80% of your battery life. And it keeps going down. And once it gets to 11.9, that's just under 12, obviously, you're at 40% of your battery life. At 40%, you should have already connected a charger, which you can do one of three ways, obviously. So the first one is you can run your van. You can have the alternator off the van running into a split charger. That'll detect the current drop with your leisure batteries. And when your leisure batteries drop below a certain current, the split charger will come on and it'll start charging your leisure batteries. It'll also be measuring your car battery. And if that drops low, it'll switch back. It'll favour your car battery first. And that's the important thing. You don't want your main battery going flat. You wake up in the morning and you're dead. No good. So secondly, you can use solar panels. Good luck with that. Really expensive. A lot cheaper than they used to be, but there's different types. And you look on the internet, you see, oh, 100 watt on eBay, 100 watt here, 90 quid, get it on the roof. And I've done that, and they produce like 0.8 up to about 1.3 amps an hour in good sunshine. So they're not brilliant, and that's not enough to keep up with the consumption. If I got a consumption of 5 amps an hour, obviously that would be at night time, but I'm trying to replace that in the day, so I need to at least get 5 amps an hour, if not a little bit more, to replenish what I've used overnight of 5 amps an hour. So solar panels alone aren't going to do it. If you're very prudent with your electric, which I've seen a lot of camper guys are, so they won't be running this, that and the other, then you can do it. You can definitely do it. If you're just running a few LED lights and everything else is cooker off the gas and things, you haven't used a fridge because you're not refrigerating food, you've got tins, whatever, you can do it. You can do it easily. And the third one, which is the gold standard, which doesn't really apply to us stealth campers, is the hookup. So I have got hookup on this van. I put it in myself, and that means I can go to a campsite, I can use their mains, connect straight into the back of the van. That goes to a charger, and the charger sends the current to the leisure batteries, and they're topped up beautifully, and they take 3 hours to charge. So those are your three options, really. And the last thing in power consumption, what everybody forgets: your mobile phones, your vapes, if you vape like me. One of the family members coming along and connecting their Game Boy or their DVD or whatever they're using, their iPod, those pull amps. So an average mobile phone will be pulling 1 amp an hour. They take usually about 3 hours to charge. A big screen iPad might take 1.5 amps an hour to charge, and that might take 3 hours as well. Ours is permanently on charge in the van. Obviously when we're not in here, we take it out and we lock it up safe inside, but that's a draw. And if you're watching it, it's going flat and charging at the same time, so it's pulling, everything's pulling on your batteries. So you've got to be really careful. You've got to think about it, unplug things, conserve your energy, conserve your batteries. It's difficult. There is nothing worse than wake up in the morning and everything's gone flat. Your heater's all gone out of kilter because it went flat during the night, so your fuel might not have come down your line properly, and you've got to prime that again, and it might not start up. It might take 6 goes. That's 10 amps every time it tries to start. So you've got to be careful. I don't want to bore you with batteries, but it's something that I've learned through experience, not through watching other people or anything, and I've got it wrong many times. Like I've shown in other videos, I've even put things in and not used fuses and nearly ended up with a van fire. You got to be careful. Respect your batteries, spend a bit of money on them, don't skimp. That's my advice on that. Anyway, so we're here for the night. We're only on the drive. It's COVID rules. Gonna have a camp. There's Cat the dog. You right, Cat? She knows that I've got beef for her, so that's good. So I don't know whether that's the right way round for you guys to see, but that says 12.2. So that's with the heater now in sort of standby mode, just chucking out quietly. And I haven't even got the fan on yet, but the fridge is on as well. So I've just switched the fan on now, and it's made very little difference, to be honest. But look how close I am to being under that 12, which means my batteries already need charging. Bearing in mind there is a few things consuming, so if I switched everything off, we would probably see that drift back up to sort of 12.4, 12.5. That'd be interesting. We're going to do that now. So initially, before that heater goes off, it accelerates because the pump stopped, obviously, and it accelerates to get rid of all the excess fuel and heat. So there we are. We're in a pitch black van. The fan's off, the fridge is off, and the heater's off. And as I predicted, it's back up to 12.4. And in another sort of 10 minutes, that would probably go to 12.5. I'm not going to bore you. There's a little bit of experience over getting the pen and paper out and calculating the wattage and the amperage of all different devices. Doesn't work. A fridge will cut in and out, changes the amps. A fan you'll turn up when you're cooking, you'll turn it back down, you'll turn it off depending on the room temperature. And your heater, you'll turn it up, you'll turn it down, you'll turn it off. So there's no way you can calculate over a 24-hour period. But that's what we got, 12.4 volts before we start. And if I look on my indicator, which I have included in the slides, that will tell me, of course I can't find it straight away now because I'm in pitch black, 12.42. 12.42 says that I'm at 80%. So I've lost 20% of my battery life just from starting up things. And that's what you've got to be wary of. That's what batteries are all about. So I've switched the heater back on now, so I've put the batteries under double the stress. So it's not going to bode well for me tonight, but what we're going to do is run everything overnight. I've filled the fuel tank up, so it shouldn't run out of fuel. I'm going to run everything overnight, and we're going to look at what consumption we've had out of our batteries, and it'll tell you straight away how long they last. I'll tell you the answer before we even start. Not a long time at all. Not a long time at all. Got to think clever about your consumption when you're campering, especially when you're stealthing. Cat's not settled because she wants to know why the heater was turned off. Sorry, Cat, it's back on now. Disaster. Score me out of 10. looking at here? 3. No, better than that. Give myself a 0. I think we got away with that. I don't know how you cook them. Hot, it's all that matters. Let's try it. Ooh, nice and crusty. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. Catch you later. It's really good. Really good. Absolutely delicious. Too bad. And all you stealth campers out there, don't be lying. It's all about recycling, isn't it? When you're stealth camping, and a wipe over that plate is more than enough hygiene. Jesus, to make that ready for tomorrow's breakfast. If you don't die and the plate hits you in the head and you just die in the van on your own, bleeding because you've lacerated your skull from a completely wild plate that's gone. It's disappeared. I don't know where it's gone. Catch you later. Right, so this is the reality, folks. I've been in the van for what, 3 hours. I've got the heater running to give me a room temperature of 22, which is a bit extravagant. I do realise that, and I will turn it down in a minute. And I'm running at 12.2 on my battery. Don't forget, if it goes below 12, I'm in trouble. I need to be charging my batteries. So it will drop a little bit because I've only just adjusted the heat. So the amps are going to go up while the fan speeds up and it produces more heat. So 12.1, I need to be considering charging my batteries. I would love to be able to switch this off and say, let's see where the batteries really are, because the only time you know when the batteries are where they are is when everything's switched off. And I reckon, only through experience, that would go up to about 12.3. So I think I'm okay at the minute. That's where we are with our battery life. And we'll check it out later and we'll update you. Right, so let's see where we are. We're at 12.1, 12.2, it keeps changing. Our heater is set to 14 degrees C. That's gone into sort of standby mode, just clicking in and out. Pump's running nice and slow. Our fridge is at 3 degrees C, but it's really cold, and our batteries will tell us how cold it is. So that fridge isn't working hard because our batteries are at 4.45, so we call that 5. So the fridge is only having to generate less than 2 degrees, so that's nothing for a fridge. That'll be less than 1 amp an hour. And our fan is running, as you can see from those switches there. So as I say, we've been in the van 3.5, 4 hours max biffs. We're at 12.1. If you got a piece of paper out, it would say we're fine, we can carry on for another sort of 16 hours. It's just nonsense, absolute nonsense. So make sure you get enough amp hours available when you're stealth camping, because this really wouldn't be enough tonight. But we're going to stay as we are. We're going to keep the heater running. We're going to keep the fridge running. And we're going to keep the fan running. And in the morning, we'll know where we are. And it's not going to be pretty. So we're at the point where you wind down on your batteries, your lights are going to go out, your heater is going to go way down low. So we're really warm at the moment. So it was set at 11 the last time. This is what I say, you can't calculate it because you don't know what it's going to be on. So I'm going to set that at 8 degrees overnight, which is more than enough when you're underneath a feather duvet. So that's just going to tick away at 8 degrees. Our fan is going to be going along. Now if we look at our speed controller, I don't know how that relates really, but it's what, 10, 20, 30, 40, 49, whatever that means. It's probably revs per minute. So we're going to tick that down a bit. We've got no condensation whatsoever on the inside of our van, which is really important. So whatever we've done right. And we're going to watch a bit of YouTube and simmer on down. So as I say, I'm going to hunker down. I'll see you in the morning and I'll let you know where we are with our battery life. Nothing's fixed. It's 12.1 at the moment. It's going to be grim by the morning, but it gives you an idea in reality of what you face with your battery life. Catch you in the morning. Take care. I wouldn't say good morning, folks, because it's 4 minutes past midnight. No, sorry, it's 20 past midnight. Fan's still running on very low. Heater's still running. And the fridge is still at 4 degrees. I'll have a look at the battery. It's 12.1. So we're right on the wire, but remember, if we switched everything off, that might go up a little bit. So we got in the van at 5 o'clock. We've started the heater up twice. So we're at 7 hours now. So we're still going strong. Everything's pretty good there, really. Catch you in the morning. So it's 2 o'clock in the morning. My voltmeter is on 12.1. I have switched the heating off and I have switched the fridge off. I don't need the fridge. It's already 3 degrees outside, so nothing to cool. I don't need the heating. I'm underneath my duvet. That did drop to 11.9. So we got in the van at 5 o'clock. It's 2 o'clock in the morning now. So at 9 hours, we can quite safely say we needed to recharge the batteries. I've switched them all off and that battery will recover now for the next couple of hours, and that might be 12.1, 12.2 in the morning. But we'll see. The fan's still on because I don't want a moisture build up in the morning, and that'll run at roughly 0.6 of an amp all night. Good morning. That was definitely a 2 duvet night. Right, let's check out the battery. Okay, so we're at 12.1, which is what we predicted, so that's good. It's really cold, so I am going to put the heating on. Get the kettle on, let's have a coffee. And then we'll get this bacon sandwich cooked. The battery's on 11.8, but I am running the heater. If I switch that heater off, it would just be above 12, so that's fine. Okay guys, I'm going to end this one here. You've been watching Steve the Transit Camper. We've had breakfast, just enjoying my coffee, and then we're going to go inside. Please click and subscribe if you like what you see, and I'll catch you again later. Take care.